Today we have BitcoinMeister, the Disrupt Meister. Thank you for coming on. I've been listening to your work for a while. I know you've been making podcasts for years. I don't even know how long you've been doing it for. Thanks for coming on, man.
Pound that like button. The first one, Galt. It's great to be here. You were an original. I've been following your career since before 2013, since before I bought my first 2 Bitcoin, since before I did my first podcast, or whatever you want to call it, YouTube video in the fall of 2013. You were around the anarchist type of circles or an anarcho-capitalist type talking stuff with some interesting dudes, with some pretty lowly dudes too, like the guy down in Mexico from Canada originally. I don't say his name. He believed in the Shemitah. He believed in the Shemitah.
He who shall not be named.
Yeah. That dude. But whatever, man. You're laid back anyway. You do. You know, someone becomes a complete creature. You leave them in the dust. That dude went wild. But no, you were into a diversification of financial thought. Before I was, it was that diversification of financial thought, that getting away from mainstream financial thinking that got me interested in Bitcoin in 2011 and finally got me to buy Bitcoin in 2013. So this dude, Juan Galt, has been, a lot of people don't, I mean, since you are a smart guy and you are a unique beast, most people don't know who you are because most people are 80%ers and they just like, well, Pump, I know who Pump is, or I know whoever's the latest flavor of the month. And Pump is a smart guy too, but you know all the popular people out, all the popular.
Yeah, they're really good.
Yeah, but Juan Galt's been around longer than all these guys. I mean, some of the kids now. I mean, when you started, making your presence known in social media, they were like 10 years old and stuff. I mean, it's and that's no exaggeration.
That's crazy to think about. Yeah.
I mean, there are some smart kids now in the Bitcoin space that are like a few that have just graduated college. And thus, when Juan Galt started making his videos, started talking about economics and everything, they were the single digits in age. I mean, literally, this is amazing. So it's great to talk to you.
Growing old, man.
Well, I mean, that's one way of looking at it. You're growing wise. Everyone should be growing wise. But if they could pay attention to us all these years, I mean, so for me, this is now the 3rd time I've seen Bitcoin, have a down market, whatever they want to call it. And it's old hand to me. But since most people don't learn from the past and just go with the flavors of the month, and this time around, everybody wanted yield. So everyone was getting into these third-party, and some of these third parties were pumped by supposedly trusted influencers. Dudes, make up your own minds. It's not the influencers' faults that you don't understand that one of the main reasons people got into Bitcoin was to be their own bank, to control their own money, control their financial destiny. And when you start going for yield, you're putting your Bitcoin, turning it into stable coins, giving it to the third party. Oh yeah, I'm getting 10% return. You really don't get it, do you, man? Like that some people are going to have to learn the hard way. And this has been learning the hard way for people. They've lost their They've lost their money, whatever you want to call it. But it's not Bitcoin. Well, some people have directly lost Bitcoin, but they turned it into Luna, they turned it into this, they turned it into that, and then it disappears like that. And now they're screaming, they're bitter, they're angry, they're blaming other people. Personal responsibility is the new counterculture, people. Pound that like button. Now you're living it. You see what I meant by that, people. But most of them are like, oh, I want Elizabeth Warren to go find these people. You pathetic trolls. Now you're begging Elizabeth Warren and people like her. And even if you directly are not saying, I want Elizabeth Warren to punish these people, you're saying, let's send the Luna guy in Korea to jail because he stole my money. Dudes, it's your personal responsibility. Why did you want these yields? Why? What the heck? I mean, it's natural to want to make money, et cetera, but it was your fault. You sent it to this dude. You turned your Bitcoin into Luna. Why? Well, because I was greedy. Okay, great. Now, did you learn your lesson? Half the people didn't. So they'll fuel the next, whatever the next big thing is. Some of these guys probably were involved in ICOs before that some people will never learn. Do I feel, I mean, I feel bad for their families, I guess, if they made some horrible financial decisions, but I'm not here to bail them out. I'm not here to create a movement around them. Let's get some regulation. This is what is going on now is a natural cleansing of the environment. It is awesome. It's like when the ICOs got naturally cleansed too. It shows that, and so the people who do their own research, who understand what controlling their own, Bitcoin is so simple. It's just unconfiscatable, uncensorable, permissionless, no third parties. But when you start to, mix these third parties in, that's where you're going to have a hard time. Okay. But the same thing is true with Wells Fargo or, some of these banks. They can have bail-ins and stuff. You know not to get into that. Why don't you know not to get into third parties holding your wealth if it's somehow mixed with cryptocurrency? Oh, because Mr. Influencer had advertisements about it on his show. Okay, again, you're blaming someone else.
Yeah.
Mr. Influencer, I mean, he's, in a sense, he's got to make money somehow. He doesn't have
to. Just shilling it, yeah. He's got to sell a thing.
Yeah, and they're going to come up with every issue. In the end of the day, the advertisement didn't make you do it. I mean, are you that weak-minded that because Mr. Influencer had an advertisement for BlockFi, for whatever, that you are now like, oh yeah, third parties holding my Bitcoin are great. Yield is awesome. Okay, if you want yield on your Bitcoin, I've been preaching one thing for a long time. It's called crypto dividends. They have forks and freaking airdrops. They've been happening for years and years and years. You get the free B cash, you get the free B gold. This is in the past. When there's a fork, half the people are like, "Oh, Roger Ver is a criminal. I'll never do his B cash thing. I'll never do that." But wait a second, it's free. You don't buy what he created there. But we got all those forks.
You sell it. Yeah,
you sell it for big. There's your yield.
Yeah.
With so many people, and that's why it's a crypto dividend, baby. No risk at all. There's no risk. There's no giving up your private key at all when there's a fork and when there's a. But people, whatever, they wanted to do third-party stuff. But that is the beauty of Bitcoin. That if people think Bitcoin should be something different, fork off. And I encourage them to do it. And I know there's going to be an ESG Bitcoin because some of the crying now is like, why don't we all conform and change the Bitcoin community into something that's more accepting of the races and the women and the environment and the this and that environmental. And if you're against the environment, you're racist. So we need an ESG Bitcoin. And great. That's awesome. Yeah, that's good. Create it. Have someone really rich and famous pump it, and have a hardcore Bitcoiner switch all of a sudden. We'll get it for free. God willing, it's worth 10% of a Bitcoin. We'll get instant 10% yield on our Bitcoin, no risk. They can sell all their Bitcoin. They're going to be the ones buying our free ESG Bitcoin. Good for them. They're losers. And because we know in the end of the day, we saw what happened with Bcash, but people don't learn their lessons. And so that's how you don't have to turn into Luna. You just wait patiently, long-term thinking. These wackos out there are the social media pressure fitting in, whatever you want to call it. It's going to come about again. So there's a fork. So there's this, that, and the other. And we being long-term thinkers, don't do anything crazy like buying what we get for free. You sell what you get for free. So just this time around, compared to 2018 crash, I don't know. One positive thing is like you can still get a job in this space. Sure, some of the really big boys hired way too many people, and so they're firing people. But if you could, the beauty of the world that we live in today, you contact some of these founders of smaller organizations, and you just tell them. They might not even be advertising a job. You just say what you can do for them, how much it'll cost, and present yourself in a professional manner and really show what you can do.
Yeah,
you get a job. I believe that. I still believe this.
I think you're right.
So last time around, I think we saw a lot of businesses.
There's no work. Yeah, we're just last bear market.
This is different. But the what I see on the other side of the spectrum, what I see different is just there are a lot more bitter people that on social media, and a lot more anger and confusion on social media, because I think a lot of people got into this yield thing. They really got into this yield thing, and there's a lot.
And the yield thing played out in the crypto and like Ethereum and DeFi market, but I think on the Bitcoin side of the market, and you're more of a Bitcoin maximalist, or maybe would you consider yourself a maximalist or like a shitcoin minimalist? How do you think
you see, that's the thing. That's another thing I've never bought into. Like, I would say I'm a Bitcoin firster because I believe that Bitcoin is the best one. It's the simplest one. But I don't. I am a confident decentralist. That is what I think. It would be great if we had more confident decentralists who could be like, Bitcoin's awesome, but it's fine that Ethereum exists too. We don't need to be centralized through one cryptocurrency where we're forcing everyone. You must be hold Bitcoin or else you're an idiot, or else you're going to go and Ethereum is going to go down the tubes. Ethereum is a scam. Ethereum is this. And I only feel confident in what I believe in is if these things disappear. No, let them. True decentralization of your mind, you accept that there are going to be a lot of other things out there forever, okay? And you're not threatened by it. So I consider myself a confident decentralist who focuses on Bitcoin, but I see a point of Ethereum. I'm not blind to that people want yield, and people want this, and people want NFTs, and people want all the Bitcoin is not complex enough to provide a lot of the things that Ethereum directly can provide. But what were you saying? Sorry.
Yeah, I mean, I'm with you on that, and that's kind of to some degree how I think about it. I'm curious. It's interesting to hear how people describe this issue because it's kind of like a constant conversation. But I think the equivalent of the DeFi yield kind of marketing scam that took the crypto people, the equivalent for Bitcoin was this the stock to flow model. It seems to me, right? Like the promises, like we were gonna hit 100,000, 200, 300, 500, right? How do you feel about that stuff from this vantage point? I don't know how you felt about it at the time.
Well, I thought it became obvious. People were pedestaling this guy, and I'm against pedestaling. It became a religion. It became a cult, and I don't like anything that becomes a cult. But we are living in an amazing time. This is the first time in the history of mankind that people have built, have formed tribes around money. This is the first time that people have become tribalistic about money. People have been tribalistic about religion. People have been tribalistic about sports teams. People have been tribalistic about nation. This is the first time people have been tribalistic about money. And so they became and so they start to pedestal individuals inside of the tribe and worship them blindly without thinking.
Sure.
And then when it all comes crashing down and they see it's not true, they blame those people. It's their own fault for worshiping these people like gods, for worshiping fancy sets and graphics. He had fancy sets. He had fancy graphics. People worship these charts. They blindly worship them. So yeah, it wasn't true. Okay, big deal. Whatever. Is at the end of it. Bitcoin doesn't care. That's not. But yeah, people put way too much of their just beliefs.
Yeah.
Understanding.
Yeah, I think it's it's curious to hear. Yeah, I think it's easy to, as a maximalist, to look at the stuff happening in Ethereum and being like, wow, I can't believe you fell for that stuff. But clearly we're still vulnerable to it, right? It seems like there's a lot of I mean, there's this sort of conversation happening around like, toxic maximalism versus like the scammy sort of crazy marketing that happens on the other side of like the crypto market. And I think the critique that we get a lot is that there's a kind of intellectual rigidity or intellectual sort of like an intellectual rigidity to the Bitcoin maximalists. I think that the experience has sort of to some degree brought us here, but how do you think about that?
I think some of the Bitcoin maximalists are stuck in a very small world where social media is uber important to Bitcoin. Let me tell you something. These big industrial size investors, whatever you want to call them, they don't care what Peter McCormick tweets out. They don't care what Juan Galt tweets out. They don't care how that Udi is no longer eating meat, or or that Nick Carter finally realizes that people are mean or something. I mean, they don't. So the whole Bitcoin maximalist, is destroying Bitcoin, is destroying the Bitcoin vibe. Most people who own Bitcoin, they don't know social media Bitcoin at all. So to me, I think it's the intellectual rigidity, that some people are not in touch with the reality that some people want different things from cryptocurrency, and then that they get angry about it on social media and make it appear like a cult. That's there, but it's not going to stop the mother from Omaha from buying Bitcoin, but she's not on Twitter. Twitter is not the entire world. And a lot of people have forgotten that on both sides of the argument. Okay? There are a lot of people out there who are smart people, okay, who worship social media clout so much. So when they get called out on there, they become panic stricken. And I don't want to be mean here, okay? Nick Carter, forever, it's so obvious he cares about social media clout. He really does. And that is a weak point of him. And it just shows that a genius like that, that no one is perfect, okay? And now he's saying how toxic Bitcoin maximalists can be on social media. Okay, that's true. Tough luck. Be a man about it. Nick's been toxic about certain things to certain people.
Oh yeah.
I remember when the virus came out. I don't know if his tweet is still available then. He was panic stricken. He said people will be committing suicide online. He said something like that. And I don't know what happened to that. And he manned up after that. He didn't soon after that, he didn't talk about the virus anymore, okay? But at first, he was like a little girl about it, saying people are going to be killing themselves online about the virus. I remember this very, very early on. But it shows you that no one is perfect. I don't want to pick on Nick Carter or anything like that, but he's been, as of recording this today, I think it's so obvious. He's worried about social. He made it completely obvious now. He's worried about it.
I'm not sure. I'm not really sure what he said that was so egregious. I'm still kind of like I read the article, he kind of took some shots at the Bitcoin culture, I guess. But do people really think that everything is a scam? I know they say it on Twitter, everything about Bitcoin is a scam. They'll sort of meme that, but you have to at some point recognize okay, capitalism requires equity, and there are other things than Bitcoin. Bitcoin is a money, and you need to be able to buy stuff with money. And there's other financial structures that make sense within reason, right? Equities, at the very least, equity is important, right? Debt still useful, right?
Does everyone think? Are there real people out there who think everything's a scam? Well, the word scam has been redefined by our buddy, the great Tone Bays. I don't think that was the best contribution to the community, but early on, but whatever. Tone really redefined what the word scam meant. Scam. OneCoin's a scam. BitConnect's a scam. They're trying to rip people off, and Tone extended that to anything that was outside of Bitcoin. So a whole generation of people from before the 2018 crash. Some real OGs out there, you bought into that. And, Tone is entitled to his opinion about that. He has he is a guy I respect so much in this space. So I do think, and Tone has no control over those people who, I don't think Tone could have ever envisioned crypto Twitter growing as large as it did, and creating these red-eyed guys out there that are really vicious defenders of Bitcoin to the end. And it's kind of cool that Bitcoin does have that, though. Bitcoin is the only cryptocurrency that's cultish following is that strong. And way back in the day, if there wasn't a Tone base, who knows how that would have developed. So it's something Tone base should be very proud of, that he had such an early influence on what has become something that is so hated by some people now. I don't hate the Bitcoin Inquisition, okay? I deal with it, all right? I ignore, if I get sent to the Bitcoin Inquisition, and that's what happened to Nick. He couldn't take it for a second. He had one tweet that says he invested in, his fund, invested in something that wasn't exactly Bitcoin. He gets attacked by the Bitcoin Inquisition, and he has to write an article about it. He has to retweet something about it. So yeah, his article wasn't that shocking or anything like that. But
the worst thing the only thing there that I'm like really kind of, let's say, upset about is that he invested in a company that it seems to be advancing sort of biometrics, sort of KYC stuff for wallets. But that's, if you're looking at it as an investor, there's probably a bet there that you can make, because clearly we haven't won that side of the battle yet. And then he said all wallets are going to be forced, or at least sort of he suggested tweet that all wallets are going to be forced to KYC stuff, which I don't know if it's true or if that's exactly what he meant. But other than that, I don't understand why people are freaking out about it.
Well, I mean, that's because some people are. I mean, that's a big threat to some people. Conspiring with the government indirectly or directly. Being a follower of the school of thought of the Elizabeth Warrens of the world. Yeah, if you didn't think someone was like that beforehand, right, and you worship them and put them on a pedestal, like people put Nick Carter on a pedestal. Nick brought up some great points. If you've actually been paying attention to me, you'll see that I invest in other things. That's all he had to say. That's all he had to do.
Yeah.
But because he believes in social media clout so much, and he's emotional, he played into their hands and stuff.
He fed the trolls.
Yeah. He fed the troll. So with me, it's been so simple. Don't care about social media clout, and just let the Bitcoin Inquisition attack you. Ignore them. Don't worry about it. But he played right into it because of his weakness, because of the social media clout crap that I recognized in him pretty, I wouldn't say long ago, but longer ago than most people did. But hey, that's his personality and everything. And Nick is welcome to be Nick. I love reading Nick. I think he's really smart. I think you can learn a lot from him. But I think you can learn a lot from.
Yeah.
I think you can learn a lot from this entire situation. Okay, there are different cliques within Bitcoin social media. Let them be. You don't have to destroy anyone. You can, if you don't like the companies Nick Carter is investing in, don't use their wallets. Okay, don't do it. Just don't do it. You don't trust what he's investing in. Okay, you don't invest in it, and you don't use the products, and that's it. And you move on. You don't waste your time. I am into creation, not destruction. And I think a lot of people out there just get their jollies out of destroying people virtually and out of hoping certain things just disappear and go away. And if you imagine if Ethereum did disappear and go away. Imagine that. I know I'm jumping to it. No one's saying that's what Nick Carter's into Ethereum or anything like that. But if Ethereum actually was destroyed, like some of these people in the Bitcoin Inquisition wanted to be destroyed. So many jobs would go down the tube. So many people would lose money. So many people would get, well, what would be the point? This is not a zero-sum game. They are creating things for people out there. They are creating wealth for people. Okay, Ethereum is creating wealth for people. I don't see what's the point of getting rid of capitalism, okay, and competition. I mean, I don't see that you're going toward fascism there, where some centralized authority at his whim decides what is good and what is bad, what should exist, what should be supported. Just let the market decide. And I think a lot of people,
and it's not to say that you can't critique it, right? Like you can critique other stuff, but like, yeah.
But what is your end game? In your critique, a lot of these people's end game are, it's destroyed. There's only one Bitcoin. There is only one Bitcoin. But if you believe the free market is a great thing, and there's sometimes during a free market, there's a lot of excess around. Okay, you deal with it. So the excess will get called out if it is illegitimate. But who's to say that you decide what value is? Some people value Ethereum. So let them do that. Let the market has decided in what the true store of value is, what the true, unconfiscatable money is, uncensorable money is. That is Bitcoin. It's so obvious. You go to the event in Miami, 20,000 people were there. Can Ethereum have a 20,000 person event? No, it cannot at this point. It cannot have an event as big as Bitcoin. Okay, Bitcoin it's got a great participation rate, whatever you want to say. Now there are plenty. But to say the opposite side of the spectrum, no one uses Ethereum. That's a lie. That's a lie. You are living in a fantasy world, and I think that's something that's wrong with certain toxic maximalists. They're living in this world where they're denying reality, that people use Ethereum. People are doing the DeFi stuff on Ethereum. People are doing whatever it's called, NFT stuff on Ethereum. This is use. Yeah. People are paying large fees on Ethereum. And everyone's like, well, that's a lot of people are like, oh, it's fake. NFTs are real. It's Ether. DeFi isn't real. Okay, that's your opinion, but people are paying those large Ethereum fees, okay, to a point where Ethereum doesn't work. Ethereum doesn't work right anymore. It's too many people using it. That's why fees are high on Ethereum. Too many people are using it. It is being used. Can you say that about any other cryptocurrency besides Bitcoin and Ethereum? Really, no. So Ethereum is special. Ethereum is the next Ethereum. I have said that for a while. I don't believe that. And people use Solana and all these other things too. I get the Ethereum wannabes they use also, but I don't think Solana will destroy Ethereum. I don't think it. I mean, overtake Ethereum. I don't think it matters to if you're confident, a decentralist like I am, who is most of my wealth is in Bitcoin. It doesn't matter if Ethereum or Solana wins. It's not on their side of the battle. Let the best one win. But I think Ethereum is way. I mean, there are some passionate Ethereum dudes out there also. And
it's going to be interesting to see if they can actually scale this thing, right? I mean, that remains the challenge, right? Like, can they scale it? Are they going to go to proof of stake? Can they survive proof of stake?
That is great. You bring all that up, because even though I am saying let Ethereum do what it's going to do. You're a confident decentralist, so you don't care what Ethereum does if they pull up. I want them to pull it all off because I don't want it to be destroyed. I want a lot of people, and I think they will
try it.
It's centralized. That is why, or on a certain level, it is centralized. That is why it will work. Okay. That is why it will work. And again, that's another reason I say Bitcoin won the unconfiscatable battle and store of, because we've already seen Ethereum turn back there. We were around in 2016 when the Ethereum Classic thing happened. We remember that whole DAO thing. That is a huge difference, because that will always be in the back of anyone's head. If something goes incredibly wrong with Ethereum again, they can just turn it back. If this 2.0 thing gets pulled off and then they realize, there's a big mistake, they'll just some centralized authority, Vitalik will say, we'll correct it this way. And again, or if there's a hack because of it, that the person, it's not like, they will bail it, quote unquote, bail it out with some centralized fix. Great. But a reason Bitcoin people should pay attention to this and care is you go back to 2019, the summer of 2019, and we were still in the bear market. Basically, we were with Bitcoin, and the news came out that Facebook was going to do Libra, and it pumped Bitcoin. It pumped Bitcoin, and I've been saying this for a while. I don't know if you've heard me say this yet, but when Ethereum pulls everything off 2.0, first of all, there'll be all these articles saying, look, there's an ESG, because they won't be it'll be proof of stake now. It won't be proof of work.
Yeah, it'll be proof of stake.
It'll be this. We got our ESG cryptocurrency now. Oh, right. These mainstream people will be hyping it up. Yep. There'll be sideline money. You'll come flying into Ethereum. At the same time, it'll pump Bitcoin too. It'll really incredibly pump Ethereum. I mean, all these people that keep on saying Ethereum will never get back to 7% or 8%. Dudes, it's so obvious it's going to pump again faster than Bitcoin, but it's going to pump the whole cryptocurrency market, just like Libra did. And Libra never even happened. That was just a rumor.
Yeah,
this is. I mean, and it's so funny. It's going to almost correspond to the same part of the down market that happened in. So when Ethereum pulls off this 2.0, or the first part of it, the other interesting thing is it's going to take a while. There's like 3 parts to it, 2 parts to it, or whatever. So that'll keep every successful thing Ethereum does with this centralized reconfiguration of it. It'll pump Bitcoin every single. So I wish them luck. I'm not some crazy person that is wishing for the destruction, wishing for Ethereum to fail, because I know if it fails, it'll bring down Bitcoin. But being a long-term thinker, I know in the end of the day that we're one day closer to a Bitcoin all-time high. But I don't like when the Bitcoin price goes down. I don't like it. I like when it goes up. I'm a normal person. I like happy things. I like positives. I like building. Okay, and anything going down, that's a negative. And so I'm an optimistic person. So when I see anything optimistic out there, I'm going to be pro that. And so what Bitcoiners need to sit back, and we'll take a few steps back and just say, and think logically. If Ethereum pumps, if it pulls off 2.0, is this going to help Bitcoin? And I say yes. I say yes, it is. It's going to help the price. It'll bring more normies into the space. It's marketing for all cryptocurrency when Ethereum pulls this off.
We're kind of in a different stage now, though, because like the SEC is probably going to regulate, like really get a little bit more aggressive. I mean, a lot of these things that popped, a lot of these DeFi things, they were basically just straight Ponzi schemes, right? I think that's the problem, right? Like I don't, people argue about Ethereum being like, oh, it had a pre-mine. I don't really care about the pre-mine, like I guess maybe you should, and if they end up getting fined for it or whatever, but it's not like, even if they settle that with the SEC, it's not going to be the end of the world for Ethereum. It'll actually legitimize it once they get over that FUD. And then the DeFi stuff, a lot of these tokens, there's sort of tokens that backed the yield itself, right? All that stuff was just basically Ponzi schemes like that. Like, I think the SEC, if they have any real role and strength, like they're gonna have to look at it and be like, that's a little ridiculous. Their equities without a collateral, right? Like there's nothing backing them, right? It was straight Ponzi's. And then the stable coins are gonna get regulated. They fucking should. Like this Luna thing was ridiculous, right?
I don't think anything should be regulated, but yeah, it was.
Oh man,
I don't. SEC is there's a lot of SEC points that you bring up here. There's a couple things to say about what I think. I think Ethereum. There's been government officials, I don't even remember which ones, that said Bitcoin and Ethereum are the ones that are not securities.
Yeah.
But then Gary Gensler Gary Gensler sort of said Ethereum might be. I think Ethereum's it's gonna, bribe their way through whatever. I think they made it through the gauntlet. I think they made it through the gauntlet already. Vitalik was on the cover of Time magazine. Yeah. They found their Satoshi. He's going to be environmentally friendly soon. He'll have that on his side. Like, wait a second, you're going after me. I'm environmentally friendly. They're not. Well, you can't do that. Leave us alone. And I think that'll work pretty well. What you said about DeFi being regulated and stablecoins being regulated. I mean, Elizabeth Warren needs a target. They need some. These are shields for Bitcoin. I've always said it. So that's another reason they should exist. They're centralized on a certain level that the crypto mommies of the world out there can say, hey, we made this safe for you. And so then they just ignore Bitcoin. They won't go after Bitcoin. So I don't like the government going after anyone. I don't like the government. I take it to such an extreme. I don't think the government should go after Richard Hart or anybody like that. Why? Why? It's like, it's fun. It is funny though. I did, going off on a little bit of a tangent here because we talk about putting people on pedestals. People worship Richard Hart. People worship.
Yeah, they do.
They believe it like he is.
They really do.
And he understands that. He is a marketing master. He's probably also a sociopath.
Speaking of cults too, like he
formed a cult on purpose. I have been calling it an ego coin for a while. But this dude, it was Eric Wall. I forgot who it was. Eric had a debate with him. And I don't usually like debates at all. I think they're ridiculous. You don't learn a lot. But what Eric said on this Richard Hart debate with Richard Hart, he said something that I've been saying for a while with Richard Hart. Why don't you go back to America? When was the last time you were in America? Why do you fear going to America? What's going on?
Where is he?
He's in Europe. And I have said for a while, there is no way Richard Hart will come back to America and for the rest of his life because the SEC, he'll be because it's what they call a security. It's what he did. And I think anyone should be able to do what he did. I don't have a problem with anybody starting their own cryptocurrency. It's the people's 80%ers want a strong leader. This is how what happened in Germany in the 1940s. How that was able to everybody wanted a strong leader to tell them the way, to show them the way, to tell them the truth, and they go. And no matter how crazy what he says, people follow. Normal people followed what the Germans were doing. I mean, it is sickening. It's sad. It's scary to think about. But it's the people's fault. For some people cannot think for themselves. So Richard Hart provides a service to so many ignorant people out there. And it is, you look at some of the people that follow him. It is the lowest of the low. I mean, in terms of IQ and stuff, it's pretty obvious that some of these people do not have high IQs. But I mean, can we worry about this? I mean, this is not something I should be concerned about. How else are they going to learn? What way are they going to learn? That they did the wrong thing. The only way is that when it all winds down one day. Okay, so ego. So I have been the only one saying that. Why doesn't Richard Hart go back to America? It's because he knows the truth. He knows what he's done is, but by the government, he's in trouble. He's in trouble with the American government. If he comes back, I don't think, but I'm saying, I don't think he should be. I don't think he should be. But the reality on the ground is this. Dudes, if you want to be the next Richard Hart of the world, don't do it in America because you will be in prison. You will find your butt in prison one day. You are an easy, centralized target right there. And but yet you're a shield of Bitcoin. So if he came back to America, he would be such a shield for Bitcoin. But they would make a big deal out of him immediately. I think they
would make an example out of him for sure.
Oh my God, he would be the biggest example in perhaps in the history of cryptocurrency in terms of prosecution. But he made up all these excuses during the internet. When he was challenged with that, and I was glad he was challenged with that. He said, "Yo, I'm from Miami originally. I had to pull a gun on someone. America is dangerous. I want to stay." And Eric kept on saying, "Why don't you go to Las Vegas? You have many fans in Las Vegas. They had an event for you in Las Vegas." And he just kept on saying, "America is dangerous. Europe isn't dangerous. I don't want to be around." And he said, "There's Interpol here in Europe, and they can come after me anytime they want to." Yeah, it's not the same as being back on American soil. where you land at that, the second you land at that airport, they check. I don't think he would last a second. I think he'd be. Huh. I think they would come up with something immediately to detain him and like. I don't know. I don't want to. I think it's pathetic that our government doesn't let the true free market run itself because it has to protect everyone. But you just said, I mean, I think we were a different opinion on that stable coins should be regulated. I don't think I think regulation is guilty until proven innocent. I think that's all regulation is. Here's
the thing. Here's my argument about stable coins. The trust of a dollar stable coin is imported. This is actually what the Fed argues too. It's like it's importing the trust from the Fed, and the Fed has some sort of oversight, right? Even if it's questionable, and so you're extending the reach of the Federal Reserve, but you're kind of printing money. I mean, at some point it's counterfeiting, right? Like if you can just create a Tether coin and then like issue an equity shitcoin in the back and like just play some finance games, at what point is it counterfeiting?
I think you should be able to say, I am creating.
I think this Luna thing is ridiculous. Like $3 billion, plus, right? How many billions of dollars? Like,
well, I think Tether shows that I believe that Tether is not fully backed. You're extrapolating is saying that, okay, you've created a stable coin, and thus you're saying that behind this stable coin, I actually have $1 somewhere for this, okay? And thus I am relying on the Federal Reserve, dollars here. And if I'm lying that I don't have Federal Reserve dollars backing this up, then, the Federal Reserve, the people in charge of the Federal Reserve, the government, should be able to go after me for lying. But I think what a stable coin is, they're saying it's worth $1. Let the market decide this thing's really worth $1. Do I have a better dollar than the Federal Reserve dollar? And I think Tether, what the market is saying right now, is that dollar is better than a Federal Reserve dollar. You could do more things with it. You could send it more places. It can't be stopped by the government. And that is what's giving it some of its value. I bet it's about 70% backed or something like that by real Federal Reserve dollars in some bank account somewhere. But I think it's an incredible experiment. The Tether thing is just an incredible experiment.
No, I think it is interesting. I think stable coins are definitely a natural innovation. Like the point where the federal banks want to launch their own stable coins, so to speak. Like they want to launch their CBDCs, which are but I think it's tricky. So like this kind of looks like what I understand banking was before the Federal Reserve. It was private banks that would issue paper as credit in order to in exchange for as investment into actual businesses, right? And then they would like investment banks, and then when the money would just, I guess, float around, then when it came back to the bank would just sort of like reduce it from the balance sheet or keep it in treasury. But basically that's how the supply of money that they created would shrink again when the money would come back to the bank. That would be a much more reasonable banking sort of structure. I mean, let's face it, Luna was basically a bank. It's an algorithmic crypto bank. The problem is that there is nothing backing the tokens. Like Luna's stability, like the success of USD, USDC. No, it was the fuck was it called? What was the ticker for this coin? This stable coin.
Oh, it was so silly. It was kind of confusion. It was Luna.
BUSD, I think.
Yeah. US, whatever. It looked like the Tether one, which confused people too. It was
TUSD. Yeah.
Whatever it was, it was somewhat confusing.
It was something like that. So I mean, I think we need to. It's just this weird thing, right? Like the reason I say it should be regulated is because there's already regulations that clearly would apply to them, and we're not going to get rid of the regulations that came out of the Great Depression, probably, unless another Great Depression came and like we decided that that's the cause, right? But like, I don't know. I mean, I understand the libertarian position.
It's interesting.
Let it all fall.
You're not an American, and you're saying that the SEC. I mean, I don't you feel that there's also like what what right does the United States have to govern all stable coins on Earth? I mean,
fair enough. Well, they're using the dollar, right? Like if you're stable coining the dollar.
Okay, that's a point. If you use the word dollar, but you could, okay, yeah, there you go. If you use it was the U.S.
You know, like you're kind of borrowing the name, right? You're kind of like, it's kind of like a franchise, right? Like you're like, oh, we're McDonald's. It's like, are you really McDonald's, right? Because McDonald's has meaning, right?
Yeah. It's sad that we've gotten into this. There should have always been, because there's nebulous aspect of it, is because we've allowed there to not be a separation of money and state. And you go back to the 1800s when there was much more of a separation of money and state. Now, I think what we've just seen does resemble something from the late 1800s a little bit, but back then also they had the gold backing it. That was like, okay, we're lending this out, but you'll know that there's gold backing it, and you'll have to trust us that the gold's there. And it was wildcat banking, whatever they want to call it. I think now that there's a lot, utility gives it a lot of value. Okay, that you're able to send it easily and DeFi it so easily, and so that's something important to factor in when people are deciding how they value something that is called a stable coin. I think nowadays, because of technology, people don't necessarily care what's backing it up. They care about the awesome technological utility. And I think there is some awesome technological utility to all this, especially when governments with their money are going in a complete different dystopian direction of monitoring everything you do and being able to turn you off. And so the utility of a private stable coin is that you can't be turned off. It can't be confiscated. You can do what you want to do. You can spend it on what you want to spend it. The Fed coin, you're going to be only able to spend it on certain things. Certain Fed. We say the United States is going to have. United States is going to have.
So hold on, because like all the stable coins I know of can be confiscated. Like they can be frozen. And like you might have the private keys, but they have the balance sheet. And so like even if it's on the blockchain, they can still like turn off your tether.
But the likelihood of that happening, it's a much greater bet that your Bank of America is going to shut you down for sending $2 to Canada for a truck rally.
No, I'm talking about like Tether, the corporation can shut down. Blacklist.
It's centralized, but it's better than the government version of Tether, which is just the United States dollar.
It's definitely better.
Yeah,
it's definitely better. Yeah, no, so it's a lot easier to use. Yeah,
that's the utility. That's the utility right there.
Yeah, let me just clarify let me just clarify what I mean by regulated. So I think probably the Asian institutions need to be integrated into the legal system to some degree. So you have recourse and there's like, certain standards. But then again, like these banks can go fractional reserve up to like, apparently the collateral requirements are down to 0 again. Or they were like 2% or something. So you can have crazy amount of leverage and fractional reserve with this bank. So it's not like the regulation is going to do much. What I wouldn't like is for like full KYC. I think that's a real threat. They want full biometric KYC, sort of like deep surveillance over everything in the economy.
That's FedCoin,
and that I wouldn't support. So
that is we're ending up FedCoin. It's going to be so easy to implement FedCoin. I can't believe they have not done it yet. That is going to solve the financial crisis that we're in right now. They're going to print out free money. Okay, you were part of a racially oppressed group. Your family was slaves back in 1822. Now here's how you're going to give us all your information. We're giving you $100,000 of FedCoin right now in your new Federal Reserve account. You can spend it on anything until you say XYZ. This part is your allotment for food. You can only spend this on food. I mean, there's going to be so many different restrictions, but people are going to think like, I'm getting $100,000 freaking dollars. This is awesome.
Right.
I'm getting it, and it's, you know, it'll boost the economy. It'll allow negative interest rates. One of the things I foresee is that the government will give you know, to buy a house, you're going to be able to get a Fed coin loan. And, you know, not everyone might be able to get this interest rate. Maybe if you're part of an oppressed group, you'll get a negative 10% interest rate. Negative 10% for mortgages. We will get there one day. Negative 10%. Yeah. And people will still default on their houses, which will be, and that'll be great for the system, because then they'll just, you know, they'll take your house away, even if you couldn't pay the negative 10% interest rates. I mean, your payments are going to go lower and lower every month, but most people won't be able to do it. But yeah, I believe it is going to be fascinating to see what FedCoin enables people to do to normies. And that'll boost the prices of houses even more. It'll give everybody the American dream. Now you can negative 10% interest rate, you get your, and still they'll default. Still they'll end up poor. Still end up poor and indebted to the government and become government. That'll be the irony behind it. That some of these people are going to get negative 10% interest rates on their housing loans because their ancestors were slaves. But in the end of the day, they will become bigger and bigger financial slaves to the government as the process goes on. But hey, that's their own. That's it. It's out there. I'm putting it out there right now. But so many people will be unable to resist this temptation. But like, whatever. I can't deny. Wow. I cannot deny reality. I can't deny what is going. They're not. The United States government isn't hiding anything. The Canadian government isn't hiding anything. They are. We're experimenting with central bank digital currencies. The woman in Europe, whatever her name, Lagarde, biggest. I mean, she's the biggest woke bureaucrat of them all. She's not hiding anything. She's like, yeah, we're going to have they're going to have their centralized bit, and that Bitcoin is horrible because, you know, you could do bad things with it, but with this, you're not going to be able to do bad things. It's all out there, but most people,
you're not able to do good things either. If you try to donate to the wrong political party, or like an activist group that goes against the establishment in some way, like, it's going to be the same thing as in Canada. They're gonna, right? They're gonna.
It's going to be hard. It's going to be much worse. It's going to be much worse because at a certain point, everyone's going to get hooked on their FedCoin account so much they won't have cash anymore. They won't have any alternatives. Right. So like, they'll be starving. I mean, they'll be willing to do anything to get their FedCoin account again. Okay, so yeah, people will follow the government edict, whatever party is in power, whatever the latest rule is. You best believe they're going to go by that school of thought, by that line of whatever. They're going to worship that thing in fear that they're going to lose their FedCoin account. So it's like heroin. It's like whatever. They're going to get you addicted at first with a little bit of a freebies, and then when it's time to do what they really want to do, to control and monitor, it'll be so easy. It'll be so easy, and they will be able to have a. When I say they, I mean the government. It's not some mysterious. Again, they're not hiding anything. They will be able to. They'll be able to have some really strong control over the economy, and that will, and it will keep the masses fat and occupied with other things, so they won't complain about gas prices. They won't complain.
So how do you see Bitcoin sort of playing in that environment?
Oh yeah, so the 20%ers who are smart, it's a way to just not get into that trap. Just do not get into that. You will still be able to say what you want to say. The government is going to come after people and arrest people who say, I'm against the president. They're not going to do that at all. Because when they got 80% of the freaking population hooked on FedCoin, they'll be able to financially enslave those people, do whatever they want to do to them financially. People like people that value their wealth in Bitcoin, who are, have Bitcoin, who are not reliant on FedCoin or third parties, we're going to be able to say what we want to do, move where we want to move, own what we want to own, do whatever we want. They'll just ignore us. They don't care. They'll have so much control over so much power because of FedCoin. Just the Bitcoin people will be a joke to them. Like, what is who cares that Adam Meister is calling, Elizabeth Warren a complete power, that President Warren a complete power freak? So what? No one's going to do. He's not going to be able to influence the people that we influence, the 80%ers, because we own them. We own them. So Bitcoin is just a way to maintain your true freedom, to understand what the word freedom means. It is just a way to. It's the only reason. I mean, so many people are like, I didn't get into Bitcoin because of the greed. I got it because of technology. Okay, I'm in it because of financial freedom. I don't want anyone able to take away my wealth and take away my ability to say whatever, to not be canceled. I can't be canceled now. I can keep on saying, private companies can kick me off their platforms, whatever, but I can still say everything. If I get kicked off a platform, it's not going to ruin my life. I still have all my Bitcoin. I still have all my value. I can still send it anywhere over the world. So Bitcoin is just a way to maintain financial sanity and financial freedom to people who value those things. But most people don't value those things. They like being comfortable slaves. Living in a comfortable dystopia. And that's the reality of the world. And there are Bitcoiners that think they have to be on a mission. I have to make all the 80%ers realize they need to own Bitcoin. And it is horrible what the central banks are doing to these people with inflation. And inflation is horrible. So make sure you don't get destroyed by inflation. I made sure of that a long time ago. Okay. In 2016, I got rid of all my money. I mean, I had some of it, whatever, not all. I had to sell houses and all this crap. I've got enough to live on my fiat for a while, but I don't. I value I was practiced what I preached. I got as much Bitcoin as I freaking could, and taking into account, the long-term future, how long this fiat's going to last me, and so I've been in this position for a while. So I don't worry about these people who are just not very smart, who are very impulsive, who've been living through the last 13 years. They've seen so many wild things. It just gets wilder and wilder every year. But there's yet there are Bitcoiners that are they think they have to sacrifice their time to reach out to these people and be like, you must get into Bitcoin, okay? And if we're living in a world where most people aren't into Bitcoin and are still living in the fiat world, that somehow we're a failure, that somehow it's sad, it's horrible for me personally. Get over yourself, dude. You're not a prophet. You're not here to save the world. You did what you did. You said what you said. There's only so much you can do. It's Alex Svetsky's Remnant articles. I mean, that's what it's all about. Just what you said, you and I, we tried our best. We've been talking about this for years and years. If people are going to be stupid, that is the beauty of the free market. People, and the beauty of free speech, and the beauty of just freedom. You are free to do stupid things, and they have consequences. But you can't rely on some person out there to bail you out intellectually forever and ever and ever and ever. If you're not going to listen to the smart people, then pay the price. If you are a smart person, you are not obligated to save these people. And guess what, dudes? Bitcoin isn't becoming the world reserve currency. I don't think it is. I think most people love their fancy sets and graphics. They love the bread and circuses. And if that makes them happy to die of diabetes and seed oils and all this other stuff, and believe and get shots just to fit in, to have the white picket fence, to have the nice big house because somebody of a different race had and to have the government subsidize your nice big house for a negative 10% interest rate, so you can say you live in the white neighborhood now or whatever. You moved on up like George frickin' Jefferson, okay? With help from the government ticket. If that's your dream and you're willing to have shots because of it, and have your children have sacrifice your children's future or whatever, and that's great. I'm not here. You can't see reality. Great, whatever. But I think Bitcoin will solve problems of a lot of people. The Bitcoin space is growing and growing and growing. It's right now, how many people on earth are on Bitcoin? 2% of people? And I don't know if it's even that high. It might get up to 20% one day. That would be freaking awesome, wouldn't it?
That would be amazing.
20% of the people own Bitcoin. Do you know how freaking much Bitcoin will be worth in terms of fiat for you fiat freaks out there? If 20% of people own Bitcoin on Earth, I mean, it's incredible. But some people are like, no, it must be 100%. No, it mustn't. I mean,
yeah.
Why?
We'll see how it goes.
Like,
yeah.
Be a confident decentralist. Not everything has to be Bitcoin. I mean, that's the way of the free market. That people can make their own mistakes, and that's it. People are always going to make mistakes. We cannot Bitcoin isn't going to cure that. And that's, I mean, some people really think that Bitcoin is the Messiah. That once Bitcoin takes hold, everything will be perfect forever and ever.
Yeah.
No, listen, people are still going to make mistakes.
Yeah.